pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We're going to start with yes.
Just here.
Okay.
Just here.
Don?
Well, just the question, is the town picking up bags of refuge this week? Because I've got 11 paper bags I filled up, but I don't want to put them out unless they're going to pick them up this week.
They have been. They've been doing it. Jason says they do a little bit every day. So I would just text them. Do you want to? I can give you his cell phone number and you can text them and.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Andre?
Okay, obviously there was some action last week on behalf of law enforcement here, and it was a pretty significant operation. You know, from the press release, over an ounce of fentanyl was found, which 14,000 plus could, for fatalities, for the potential. Just wanted to say it was a good group effort. A lot of the information, I should say the majority information, came from townspeople cooperating. I'm hoping this will generate a little bit more cooperation and information from the public, because that's real important, and it was led to the success of what happened last week. And we're not done. I know you don't see the patrol cars as much as you want, but the Drug Task Force, the Vermont State Police Drug Task Force, is here almost all the time and doing their thing. But they have an incredible amount of hours and effort that they put in to gathering intelligence to do this.
Were those folks arraigned and immediately like released on their own recognizance? Most of them.
Some of them, yes. Okay. Based on the amount of narcotics, I think they may be looking at federal charges, but that's not for me to decide.
Okay.
But they were released, but they will be going back.
One was released. One OD'd on his way to, he went straight from the house to the ambulance.
Yeah.
And that person was released. Two others are still in jail. And
Thank you for all
ATV
that.
season is here.
Yes.
And we've been getting a lot of calls already. I get a lot
Yes.
of calls
Yeah.
on that. We'll see what we can do about that, but that'll be here till we get snow on the ground.
Yeah, I know there was one that came flying through town with two younger women, and they rolled it right by the Thirsty Burger, and Scott happened to be out there washing down the sidewalk, and my son Steven was coming through, and they stopped. They actually rolled it. She smacked her head, no helmets. He went up side one side, not registered, no nothing. He was not happy. He let him have it. My son goes, Uncle Scott was really ugly. The other guy, they flipped it back over. I don't know the names of it, but Scott does.
Nobody notified us, and that's
Yeah.
something we can follow up on later if somebody's willing to give.
Make
a
sure
statement. In those
register.
situations like that, if somebody's willing to give a statement, we can
Yeah.
go forward with that. Is there anything else for?
I'm just curious, Andre, just reading the report that Michael sent out, where did you send it today, yesterday?
That was on Friday.
On Friday. It says that there's been 33 incidents.
Oh, you're talking about the sheriff. Those are two
Sheriffs,
different
yeah.
reports, not
Okay.
the
No,
operation.
not the operation report, but
Okay.
the report that you just, I think, sent us.
Yeah, March report.
That there was 33 incidents in the town for the month, right? That's a monthly report that comes to us.
I haven't seen that
Mhm.
report. I don't generate it.
Okay. I'm just curious, and then it says that there's like 3 arrests in that, 1 traffic stop. So I'm just curious in that 33, and maybe you can find this information out, because it doesn't tell you exactly like what was happening with those 33 arrests, so I'm just curious like what those consist of.
We can.
Is it vandalism, is it break-ins,
Yeah, we
is
can
it-
improve on that, yeah.
I mean, it does outline like the traffic stops and stuff.
A lot of them, most of those are probably mine.
I'm sure they are.
So, like today, I took a couple, somebody broke into 115 Main Street, and I got called. Saturday night at 11:30, Andy called me. I think it was Saturday night, yeah. Called me with leading the scene of an accident. So I responded to that, and that took a couple hours. Those are the kind of things I'll talk to the sheriff about.
Yeah, I'd just be curious to see what most of the incidents are and just kind of familiarize
A lot of
ourselves with
citizens disputes and
Yeah.
suspicious activity and things of
Yeah.
that nature.
That would be nice.
Okay,
Awesome.
Thank you.
all right, thanks.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Bill.
And can I speak to you something outside?
Did you have anything, or are you just here?
Well, I don't know if John spoke to this or not, but,
I had it up.
oh, okay. One of the things that we're,
Right?
No, we didn't say anything.
okay. Springtime for the parks, are we gonna get the doggy bags back out there in the parks?
I would assume so.
Yeah, we
Michael,
can
do
do
they
that,
have
yep.
more of them?
Yeah, I have some in my
Like a
office.
case or two, or
Yeah,
something like
there's-
that in there? Okay.
Because those are
Yes.
used when they're out there and,
Yes.
and it's, you know, it's very
It's much
nice.
nicer that way.
Yeah, well, yeah, and I think wasn't it last year that the fire department had a nice little cleanup job before they could have Easter egg hunt out there? You know, that was not
Okay.
super. The other thing, kind of for Wally, especially now that we've got the credit union coming in, the bank that's between Ave Maria and the parking lot back there, that's good, starting to get overgrown. Is that something that the town crew could maybe work with beautification and we get that cleaned up? I mean, it's got like the sumac and stuff, and that's a little bit beyond our capability, but maybe does
You
the
mean
town crew?
on top of the big blocks?
Yes.
They like the stone block, the retaining wall, is what you're talking
Yeah, the
about?
retaining wall, it's probably, what, about 10 feet or something wide strip there, but does the town crew have like chainsaws and stuff that they can help take out the? Okay,
Yeah.
so if we can,
Behind the, yeah.
okay, terrific.
I had one follow-up. You asked if the new town truck has a bed liner, has a spray-in bed liner. So
Good.
it did come with that.
Good, that will hopefully
Last a little longer.
last a little longer
Yeah.
and get our money's worth out of it. Thank you for following up on that.
Is it sprayed on?
Spray-in bed liner, yeah.
Do you guys ever undercoat them? The trucks? Do you know?
I don't. I mean, I can ask.
So I know Brian and them do undercoating,
Yeah.
that maybe they would do a deal because we bought the truck or something, just to make it last that much longer.
I wouldn't use undercoating per se, I use that fluid film.
Yeah, it's the same. That's what you're
Yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about.
this
Yeah.
is, yeah,
Just like a
Yeah, it's not that
add-on,
tar stuff, it's
add-on
just,
protection.
Yeah.
yeah.
That would be terrific to do.
yeah. And then when every time we get a new one, we just do the same thing.
That's one of those things you have to do annually, but yeah,
Yeah.
it should be
Yeah.
done.
Oh,
It's not an incredible expense. It's a little more the first time than a little less the second, each subsequent time. Or not
But
each
the-
subsequent, but subsequent times.
But the longevity of keeping the truck longer and
Yeah.
stuff, it pays for itself
Yeah.
to do that.
Okay. Discussion. Oh, he's gone. Zoning?
Is it the one I put on?
Yes.
Yes, so I just wanted to make sure that we talk about the responsibilities of adding or how we wanna go about, start advertising. Because we had voted for it on the budget to add someone for 15 hours a week, I think, in the zoning office, so. I wanna make sure that we,
Don't forget that.
that we get that out there, cause we did budget for it and might take a little bit of time to fill, but I know John would love the help.
Yeah, he did. Like I mentioned in the email when I sent out the agendas,
Yep.
he did ask about it to me last
Okay,
week.
so are we gonna have him do the job description of what they're gonna do working with him? Or is it something we wanna come up with?
I mean, well, I would
I'm
suggest
assuming
having him
John,
involved
that's
with
what I
it.
would do
Yeah.
best.
Can you work with him to come up with a job description?
Sure. Yeah.
And then that way we have it, so when we advertise it, we already have the job description and we've already voted on it.
So do we wanna wait to advertise until we
I
actually
went
have?
to the job description
Let's try to have
first,
that-
so we could
Have
get
that,
done.
something reviewable by next meeting.
Oh,
Yeah, and then we can review it at the meeting or whatever, email it to us and we can review it before the meeting and then we can vote on it at the meeting. And approve it or whatever.
I have one zoning question.
Yeah.
what are the requirements to have a building condemned?
They have to, nobody there, usually it's unkept, and that's description if you've got windows broken out, especially if they're broken out and boarded up. People aren't maintaining the yards around it, it's starting to look dilapidated. And
But somebody could still be there and it couldn't be considered condemned because they're there, even though it meets all those other conditions that you're talking about?
True, because somebody's living there, but you can get, I believe John's better on this, but, you know, definitely the lawn, the trash around there, that type of stuff can be addressed.
What about, I mean, is it different for a business? Are there different?
It shouldn't be, and Sherry, did planning ever put into the bylaws that, I know there was talk about having stuff outside your business and only during business hours?
We did.
Like a
And
sidewalk.
I think at that time, the select board pushed it back at us. But
Okay.
then there was the porch thing, kind of only keeps so much, but then that was pushed back on.
Yeah,
We had the public meeting. And then there was about the grass level, the height.
yeah,
That was another disaster. So,
okay.
yeah, it all just
Yeah, it's something that I think it needs to come back and
be
maybe
revisited.
revisit it with having another joint meeting
Right.
between planning and the DRB so we can have a nice discussion and get more points of view, and then it's planning that puts in the law. But you have to watch it, with some of it, is if you put in with the, around a business, you know, that you have to have it kept up, blah, blah, blah. Anybody that's right now today
It's grand.
is it that way, they're grandfathered in if it is a bylaw. If you, the select board,
Make it an
make it an ordinance, it's retroactive. It's everybody right now has to come up to that
Okay.
level.
That'd be really nice to be able to do that.
So, yeah, there's your difference of, once you have a bylaw, they can be grandfathered in ordinance. This affects everybody.
Okay. It's good to know.
Okay, thank you.
But then you gotta enforce it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there is that element,
That's
yeah.
the hard part.
That is the hard part. Okay.
Okay. So next is the Cat Crusaders. Is anybody here to speak about it, or?
No, but they had sent Kylie, I don't know if you guys saw the email from Kylie, they
That
had
was-
sent Kylie a message and talked to her about the fact that they're in town right now and they're helping, you know, deal with a lot of the cat problem from the house that burned down. And they were looking for some help, whether that's, you know, monetary or donations of cat food, they need some help from us for the amount that, you know, and Kylie did say, I checked with her and she did say there is a pool of money that
We could donate.
we could donate, you know.
Is that something, does anybody have a number that we'd like to help with?
I don't even think they threw one out, they just said, you know, that they could use some help
Okay.
taking care of the cats.
Right, do we wanna make a motion to donate money to them, to help out with this one instance?
I think we should put an amount in.
Yeah,
That's what I
definitely.
think. That's what I'm saying, does
Oh,
somebody
yeah,
want
definitely.
to mention a number? I mean, do we wanna give them 200, 300, 500? I don't know what anybody's thoughts are on it. I mean, I'm an animal lover, so mine are probably different than some.
Yeah, I think $200, and like I said, Kylie said there is a pool of money
That we can get a little bit out of
that
it.
there would be enough. I mean, she mentioned something in the pool around $1,700. So, I mean, we don't have to obviously use all of
Right.
that for that, but the pool that she was talking about pulling from, there's about $1,700 in
Okay.
there, so I think, you know, $200-300.
Do you wanna do 250? Does that sound good to you guys, $250?
It's fine.
Yeah, okay. Who makes the motion?
I'll make the motion.
Okay,
I'll second.
okay. Who says aye? All?
All in favor?
Aye.
Yeah, aye.
No, nays?
So 250 to you,
Yeah.
okay, I understand yours.
Mm-hmm.
I'll make sure Kylie knows that.
Mhm.
And then town properties are next, Alan.
Okay.
I started with 4 properties to try to sell, and I knew I was gonna run into some issues, and I am. And basically, of the 4 I started with, I've got 2 that I'm pretty much ready to go ahead with. I just need a consensus from the board on how you want to proceed with this. And I've got 2 others that I've got issues with. One is the Priest Block on Troy Street. It's a bare piece of land. 2 issues with that. One, the sale of this property predates Nemrick. And there used to be a mobile home on the property. And I don't know whatever happened to that mobile home. And I've talked to a couple people, and I get either they don't remember or they think it was sold before the town got it. Even if we did know what happened to it, because it predates Nemrick, it's not like I can go to, or have Kylie go to the computer and find an invoice for what we paid somebody
Right.
to haul it away. It's public record, so it's kept, but it's, I'm sure, in a box in the back room, one of many boxes. And you could spend a lifetime looking for an invoice and maybe never find it.
Right.
I don't think it was a huge amount, but I think if we go ahead with this, we're probably looking at recovering only what we paid for the land at tax sale.
Okay.
The bigger issue I'm finding with this is we have a sewer line that goes right across that property. And the deed we have from the tax sale says nothing, absolutely nothing, about the sewer line or a right of way to repair that line. The deed before that says, all it says is there may be a sewer line going across the property. The one before that basically says the same thing. There may be a line going across the property. I think if we want to proceed with this, what I'm gonna need to do is contact our attorney, find out what it would take for us to get a right-of-way to repair that line. Because we don't wanna sell it without being able to access the property to fix that line if we have to. And I guess I'll have to bring it back to the next meeting once I find out what's involved and what the cost is gonna be.
So we build that right into the, since we're the property owner, we can put that right into the deed?
Would have to be in the deed, yeah. And I don't know if Jeremy just marking the lines and we put that in the deed, if that would be fine. I don't know if they're gonna want actual coordinates, longitude, latitude, that, I don't know what's required. And I don't know what the cost is gonna be. All we're gonna be able to recover from this is the $1,800 we paid for it at tax sale. So maybe if it's gonna cost $2,000-3,000, maybe we don't wanna sell it. Cause it's be a net loss to us.
Yeah, but I mean, it'll continue to be a net loss.
But
I don't
That's a
know.
4-acre piece, right?
No, 1.74.
Because there was a trailer there, and then there was a big, huge apartment building.
Yeah.
The apartment building was torn down and it was burnt there. What wasn't burnt is buried there. It was Johnny Nunn tore it down for Tim Mayott's construction.
Okay.
So,
And could we always, whatever it costs us to get the right of way put into it, could we add that to the cost
I'd
of
have
selling
to
it?
ask the attorney that too.
Yeah,
Cause
yes,
it's
I
not
mean, if
what
it's
we,
3,000.
The right of way is just write it into the deed.
Yeah, we write it into the deed, but whatever the attorney costs us contacting, getting this taken care of, could we add it to the price that we want to sell the property to for
see,
it?
I gotta find out because it wasn't a cost to the town to acquire the property or anything.
Okay.
So I don't know, maybe we
Okay.
can, I don't know.
I think I would still be in support of, you know,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, yes, it might be a loss initially, but
Get rid of
Well, I
your
don't
tax
think we
bracket.
wanna proceed with it at this point, cause right now we don't have the right.
yeah, yeah,
Oh,
no, do that,
yeah,
continue to do
all
the
of that.
legwork
Let's-
on it, yeah.
Definitely research the numbers.
So that lot's only 1 point something acres?
1.74.
Yep.
Somebody owns behind it, isn't that, that's one of those properties?
Fletcher's.
Fletcher's.
Yeah, there's two, the Fletchers have two properties, right?
Yeah,
The house and then there's another lot behind it.
The next one is a property on Academy Lane. It's a little strip of land that runs from Academy Lane right across to Interdale.
okay, so it's over here by the buildings, okay.
Yeah. It's land I don't think the town is ever gonna use,
He doesn't push snow to there? Is that what it was before or something like that?
so it's basically a sidewalk.
Yeah.
It's probably a sidewalk in the school,
Yeah.
because there used to be a
Yeah.
tub factory there.
And
Used to be what?
A tub factory,
Didn't know that.
Sweat Cummins bought it at a tax sale, then they turned it into their lumber yard.
Oh, did not know that.
History lesson.
the thing with
That's
this
cool.
one is locating the deed. This one is another old one that predates our digitized land records.
Okay,
So it's not a matter of sitting down at the computer and finding the deed. It's going through thousands of index cards. And as of right now, I haven't found the deed, but I'm
Okay.
still looking. And this is not a, I mean, this is a piece of property that if the neighbors don't want it, I can't imagine anybody else.
And this is the church parking lot?
Yep. And then there's my next one. And this one, I'm pretty much ready to go on. This is a piece of land on J Road that the town owns. It's roughly a 1 acre parcel, but it's a really weird shaped piece of
Oh,
land.
that's when it borders the rail line, right?
Yep. Somebody said there used to be a house on this parcel.
When I was in high school, somebody crammed in a little trailer.
Camper trailer.
Yeah, and they lived there.
Family lived in it.
They started down in one spot, and then I don't know if they used it up, but they moved up down closer to the train trestle.
Eric seems to think at some point there was a house on there, or maybe it was the camper. But again, it predates Nemrick as well. So even if I knew who may have tore down the house, I'm gonna spend months looking
I
for
wouldn't worry about
a $100 or $200 invoice.
yeah, you know.
So that's, other than that, this one is ready to go. We bought it at tax sale, I think this was 1992, and we paid $296.03, so that'd be what we recover from selling it, and if somebody buys it. I don't know, it's a nice size lot, but it's shaped so weird that I don't know if anybody's gonna want it.
Oh, roadfront.
So that one's ready to go, and then the next one I've got is 50 Farrar Street, the house. So I guess my questions on Farrar Street and J Road is, do you wanna go ahead with selling them, and then how do we wanna do it? Do we wanna have a realtor involved, or do we wanna try to put ads in the paper and sell it ourselves? It used to be a realtor took a 6% commission.
Yep.
I don't
That's
know,
what it was,
that was on a house, on bare land, it was 10%.
Oh, was it?
So I don't know. Personally, I'm thinking on the house, it might be worth it to have a realtor, because they would know all the disclosures that need to be signed regarding asbestos, lead paint, and whatever else. But that's a, board decision. You wanna list it with a realtor, or maybe try to sell the land ourselves, list the house with a realtor, or how do you want to go forward with this?
Did you do any research as in, can we put any stipulations? Like, I guess my hesitation is we spent so much time acquiring that property, part because it was, I guess nobody was gonna bid on it. but I hate to sell it and have it be and stay in the same condition. Is there anything we can do to mitigate that?
Like, when you say same condition, what do you mean? Do you mean put a condition in that they fix it up, or?
Yeah, I don't know, like, I don't know what we could do, like, I just hate to see it, I mean, part of me would almost rather see it torn down than have it stay in the same condition and have people live in it.
Maybe something like that.
You can't give it
where they do
away.
the
Can't give it
Yeah.
away.
Can't give it away,
No.
but if somebody bought it from us, they could give it away.
Yeah.
If somebody bid on it and won the bid, they could give it away, right? And it could
Well,
go to a
Habitat has
corporation.
money.
So if you're gonna rig
Like,
your
they
bidding,
could.
Sherry.
No, not
why
really,
do
it still goes out to bid, and whoever's the highest bidder, but maybe we
We
have
can't do
somebody
that,
who
can we?
wants to, huh?
Habitat does purchase the
Yeah, but I was
properties.
gonna say, they
But
did purchase it.
This would be an added cost because there would be something to demolish. So it would be worth reaching out to them, but could the town do the demolition and ready it for a new
Right,
build
because don't
by
they make
Habitat?
stipulations of how it's maintained and taken care of?
I don't know, that's
There's
something that
one
I know
tree
that
or
there's a
something.
new conversation happening with Barry Lemke from the Housing for All, and he's coordinating with, Habitat for Humanity. And I think
Okay.
there are opportunities there. Sorry for jumping in.
No, that's
Right.
fine.
Fine, that
I've
was good
talked
to
with
know.
Barry about that. I think what I recall is they would want to see it torn down, but again, that would be something we would probably have to do versus them.
Yeah.
But then they would have to still go out to bid, so
It's
there's not a
up to
guarantee
bid,
that they
right,
can
no matter what we
do.
do. And I do know there's people interested, because I've been asked about it several times, about neighboring people that would be interested in either having it torn down first and then them bidding on it with everybody else, or having it stay as is, but the garage off and that kind of stuff in the shed, because they think it's still probably might be sound, or they can replace it and refix it on the inside.
I don't know,
If the
maybe-
town tears it down, that's just more expense you gotta recover.
Exactly.
So-
But
Is
I
there-
thought one of our objects for taking some of these properties was to clean up these places.
Right.
And nobody's ever gonna fix that house up and make it decent. It's in an awful location. It will never happen. You have to face reality.
Is there any real benefits to the town buying property at a tax sale?
Well, if you don't, there's no consequences for not paying your taxes.
There's no consequences, but all the consequences go to the taxpayers. A couple of years ago, you bought 2 trailers in a trailer park, so the town had to pay lot rent on 2 trailers for 1 year, plus back rent, to take a trailer to send it to the dump. How much money did we lose on that deal?
You're gonna lose money here and there on an individual deal, but in the bigger picture, people know that if they don't pay their taxes, they could lose their house. So it gives them an incentive to pay their
But-
taxes.
If somebody's got a nice house, you're not gonna lose it on taxes. Like the Priest Block, you only can get $1,800 for that. I guarantee you tear that place down, they had to rent a special excavator to get up there, tall enough to tear that building down, and you lost tax money for 30 years on that property. So how's the town benefiting anything?
Like I say, on individual cases, you are gonna lose money, but if you don't,
Tell me one case where
if
you
you
made
don't
money.
sell properties for delinquent taxes, then why should anybody?
I think
pay
you
the
should
tax?
sell them to, but I don't think the town should buy them,
That's what you're saying.
because this is what it turns into.
Well, I think the thing is that we as a town only buy, my understanding from Kylie is that we only bid on the ones that we're the bidder of last resort. So
Right.
like all the one, people come in,
Like the one you guys just bought, the garage you got a hazardous cleanup over there to do. The one you just got over on Noy Street.
well, we haven't officially got that yet.
Well,
But I know what you're
when you
talking
do,
about.
It's gonna be,
Yeah, but there are ways to,
if you had properties that was worth something when you tore the building down, but 50 Fire Street, who's gonna build another house there? Nobody. So that's gonna be an empty vacant lot, like the corner of Willow Street and Troy Street. Absolutely no value, but that we lost money on taxes. So I think the town should let somebody else buy these properties instead
We
of.
got it
But-
last resort.
but who is the somebody else? If nobody's bidding that day, you could.
Wally, on the ones that you did buy in the trailer park, the 2 trailers. you had to pay lot rent for 2
Yeah, I get that.
trailers for 1 year, so you automatically lost on that.
Yeah.
Those people didn't want the trailer, it was gonna cost them to get rid of it, so they give it to the town, and you
Right.
lost all that money.
Yeah, I mean, I see both
I
sides.
know what you're saying.
I see
but-
both sides, I mean, but I see what Alan's saying, like if there isn't a penalty for not doing it, not paying your taxes,
No one will pay their taxes.
or.
But then, a couple years ago, you sold one, I don't wanna get into it again, but you sold one for $11,000, that's probably worth $100,000 now. And so-
But I think we have to do things certain, we can only charge basically what we got into it, right?
Yeah, I wasn't involved in the selling of the property. I know it was posted, and
Right.
if people had an objection to the sale, they could have gotten a petition to
Right.
put it to the voters, but
But legally, can we sell
How
for a
they-
lot more than what we bought?
Well, it says you're supposed to get as much as you can.
yeah, but we only can keep what it cost us.
Yeah,
And where's the
that
rest go?
goes back to the former owner.
So that's an
Okay.
investment for the family.
Yep.
So you keep it for 30 years, like the priest block, well, you're only gonna get, well, who knows what you get for it. I just think it's a losing for the town either way.
Yeah,
Like 50 fire, so now you spend all that money to evict those people, to get them out of there. The tax money you lost for 3, 4, 5 years, water and sewer.
well, I don't think we lost it, because I don't think they would've paid it.
They weren't
Oh.
paying it. That was the reason
Well,
we got it.
but I know what you're saying. I guess you have to look at, maybe you have to look at it in a little broader view. You take the hit on the financial side, but if it's for the betterment of the town overall, you just gotta ensure that that piece is happening. And that's kind of where I'm trying to go with it, is like, how, we got this, we're ready to move on it. How do we make sure that it's not gonna go right back to the same condition, same living standards that was,
Demolish it,
yeah.
gotta demolish it.
You
It's all
demolish
lot.
that house, you're looking at $15,000 to send it to the dump.
Okay.
You gotta do an asbestos abatement on it.
But
Yeah.
it's to help the town, right? It's bettering the town at some point.
Potentially.
Then you're stuck with a vacant lot.
Well,
Not you
no.
can sell.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, I don't know if it hits
John,
any
can
zoning
anybody help back
setbacks.
there?
I don't know if
Pretty much
anybody
they
ever
can.
got a bill
I
back
think
there.
they
They could
could.
rebuild, right? You could rebuild to the.
I think
up
you
to
could.
In
what-
existing footprint.
Exactly, existing. yeah.
well, and it's a lot easier in the town when you have water and sewer, you don't have all those
Right.
conditions to worry about.
But who's gonna want, oh,
There's housing crisis
I was
right
stupid
now.
enough to
Those
build one of
lots
those in
are,
Richford.
Yeah.
if you have I don't know how big the lot is, but I mean,
Alright.
Well, there's a bunch of changes with that on the lot size and stuff
Yeah.
to have it, that you can build in lots that were a lot smaller.
right.
That we used to say, no, you can't build on it. Those, if you can fit a house on it, isn't that correct? That you can fit a house on it, you can build on it.
Yeah,
So that's the policy now?
The state started pushing that, because they
Yeah.
wanted to be able to squeeze more housing into existing
That's what I
villages.
Right now, your local regulations have to incorporate those
Yeah.
standards. But regardless, if it's non-conforming, you can rebuild on an existing footprint.
And especially if you have town water and sewer.
Yeah.
So I guess we're not really answering your question, we're kinda, I'm sorry I brought it up, but, how do we, I don't know, I don't wanna just sell it and have it be what it was before, so.
Well, we're gonna have to talk to the attorney again about the easement on Priest Block. We can bring up the issue of restrictions. She was kind of on the fence with it about the fact that if your zoning says you can do something, if you meet certain conditions, she didn't know if a restriction would override that.
Yeah, if you don't mind, for my peace of mind.
So we'll put that back in the pile.
Does anybody know where the sewer line goes through that property? Isn't it right down through where the driveway was?
It just says the northeast corner of the property.
Yeah.
That's all it says. There's no,
Do you have something you wanna, I see you.
I wanted to ask Michael if he had any next steps set up with Barry on meeting with Habitat Humanity.
No, there wasn't at the time, because at the last board meeting we discussed, I think they were more interested in the donation piece of it, and then when we asked that question.
It
to
might
the
be
attorney,
worth, because it sounded to me like they were at least they hadn't done a project in Richford.
Mhm.
And perhaps if there was an opportunity to set up a meeting and have the select board meet with some of the leadership of Habitat, that would at least start a relationship and you would understand, you know, firsthand what their requirements are.
Yeah,
Just-
We can
I
definitely
mean,
do
it's
that.
not directly related to this, but
Yeah.
as a
Yeah.
tangent that could
Yeah.
help.
Well, it could
further-
help us in the future too.
Well,
Other
there's
places,
several
other things.
properties we have that,
Yeah.
you know, if Habitats can come in and, you know, help build not just housing, but, you know, beautify the town in the process, because they're doing it at
Right.
a lower cost. I mean, it's benefiting everyone.
And we don't know how much they would pay and, you know, perhaps.
Yeah,
If it's worth fixing.
Right.
Right, or even if it's worth
Sure.
fixing or tearing it down, one way or the other.
Well, could the guy that you have do a lot of the work at the bank and stuff, would he go, like, if we got him, that Mike went with Michael and had him do it, like, could he do like at least like a base structural analysis of it? Would that be worth something?
Yeah, you're not talking Connors, you're talking like who we usually have do a lot of carpenter
Yeah,
work
the
with.
local.
Yeah,
Would that be something worth doing, just to see?
I would think so, to have somebody check the support of the house and see if it's even worth.
Well, I mean, it wouldn't be official though, so I mean, it'd only carry a little bit of weight, but.
Yeah,
I personally, I think.
I mean,
think
if
it's
we
worth
did
taking a
sell
look
it,
at
we would be selling it as is.
Yeah,
So I don't know
Yeah, it's true.
if,
right, and they, whoever buys it can have their own inspector come in too.
yeah,
Alright, yeah, just, can you?
I'll just put that one on hold.
Yeah.
Do we wanna go forward with that little J Road lot?
Yeah, and I mean, I don't, what was the holdup again on the priest block, just,
The easement or right away?
yeah, right
for
away,
the
so,
sewer
yeah,
lot?
and I think as soon as we get that resolved, I'd say we move on that.
Okay. How do you wanna move on? Do you wanna just put an ad in the paper, sell it ourselves? That little piece of land on J Road, I can't imagine we're gonna,
But can you do it?
There's not even a
for-
flat spot there.
No, it's all tucked, I mean, it's all 105 to the rail trail. Yeah. So I don't know, it maybe be an adjoining property owner that might want it, but they're not gonna pay a lot, I'm sure. It's not usable, you could.
Advertise it and then just see what we come up with and just have close bids, right?
so Mike, can we come up with some kind of
Strategy.
procedure? Some type of
Definitely a
ad
weird
to
law.
put in the paper to sell it? We'll need to schedule with Kristen again to
Okay.
go over the easement and and then once we find, if we find a buyer for any of these, and I spent some time reading the statutes, and according to the statutes, the select board has the authority to sell property. Once we find a buyer though, and we have the terms of the sale, it has to be posted in the paper for at least 30 days. And if somebody wanted to stop the sale or put it to a vote, if they get a petition signed by 5% of the voters, they can say, okay, you gotta have an election so the public can vote on it. And if nobody files a petition, we can just go forward. And I didn't know, do we wanna do that and see if somebody gets a petition, or do we just wanna have a special election once we come up with some properties?
I just go ahead and do it, and if somebody press petition, then we do the second.
Do we have to hold the election within a certain time frame, or could we bump it off till, say, when we're already having one?
We could, but the next one for us is gonna be town meeting, and we're already gonna have quite a few things on that.
Town meeting, what, nothing in November, or?
No, there's no state or federal
This
elections
year?
this year.
Okay.
And in this town meeting, we've got to start figuring out Golf Course Road, how we're gonna get the financing for that, and that has to go to the voters.
Okay.
And then I'm working on some things for an equipment fund for the fire department. That may have to go on the ballot in town meeting as well. but I don't think there's any limit as to how
I
many
mean,
things
we
we
have
can
to.
have on the ballot, but.
Yeah, if we have to, I mean, I'm guessing, I can't see this, you know, this property raising any alarms.
Right, but
But
the
I-
house is probably, yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I think we can proceed with this one and see what happens.
So the priest block is gonna go into paper for bids?
When it gets there, but we still have some work to do on that one.
Yeah, they were talking this little piece for Jag is the one that's going to go in the newspaper right now.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, there's no house, there's no living.
So can you set up a time for us, Mike, to talk to Kristen, and then we can figure out what we want to put in the ad?
Okay.
Okay. So we're gonna jump back and do streetscape.
Sorry. Thank you. Okay. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, and I have three extras, you're good?
There's just one.
Sure. Get somebody else.
So I'm here tonight to update the select board on the Richford Streetscape Master Plan. I have a draft report here that is a culmination of the work that was done over the past year, led by a project team that consisted of, I think it was a mix of the planning commission and some select board members, and there's a few other municipal officials that participated along the way. And so there's some great opportunities. I'm gonna give you a quick overview and then sort of let you know like what the next steps are moving forward. So this was funded by a municipal planning grant from the Vermont Department of Housing and Community Development. We hired Du Bois and King as a consultant to do some of the, well, they really did the community engagement and design work. And then I just sort of put together what they did into this final report, and we sort of worked with them on coordinating with the planning commission and doing the community engagement. So the purpose in doing the plan is to promote economic development in the town in alignment with the strategy to promote outdoor recreation, and also to increase bike and ped safety, right? So, well, and then along with that is to add to the sense of place and aesthetics of Main Street, to create a place where people will be more comfortable spending time on the street and be attracted to spend time on the street. Patroning businesses and, yeah. So when we talk about a streetscape, we're talking about not just sidewalks, but sidewalks are one component of the street that is going to provide a safe space for pedestrians to walk. But we're also talking about street furniture, seating, lighting, public art, planters, and other landscaping, bike accommodations, so bike parking, bike lanes, sharrows, which are painting on the streets so that automobiles know that they should share the road, and bicyclists know that they should share the road. So just thinking, when we're thinking about a streetscape, it's more than just sidewalks, you know, all the elements that allow the street to be a place where people want to spend time. And so the first component of the project was a walk audit. So several community members showed up along with the project team and filled out their own walk audit assessments, which sort of fed into some of the identification of problem areas and opportunities to address in the plan. On page 2, there is a walk audit, sorry, page 6. There's a walk audit map, sorry if the page numbering's messed up. Yeah, this is the walk audit map right here, beginning here. Just a quick note on the planning process for making improvements to your streetscape. Is the numbering messed up?
No,
No, okay.
there's just no number on the page.
On that page, yeah. So it can take 6 to 10 years from the start of the feasibility and master planning to when you have built improvements to the streetscape. And that it depends on how you approach that, how big the project is. But if you're following the traditional sort of master plan, then do a scoping study, then do the final design and construction with federal funding for all of it, then that's sort of typically the period of time that you can expect to start sort of that initial master plan to when you have something constructed. And I can talk about that a little bit later when we look at the specific alternatives, opportunities, but that does depend. That's just generally when you're doing a big project in your streetscape using federal funding, how long it takes. Let's see, the focus areas identified through the walk audit are identified, and it calls out some of the challenges and with each of these areas. So that's something to take a look at. And we also highlight the community engagement. There were 2 great community engagement events that happened as part of the project. There was a visioning workshop that took place over at the restaurant on River Street. And we had a really great attendance at that workshop, some great discussion. I think it was a very fun event and an opportunity for folks to sort of roll up their sleeves around some maps at a table and really identify some of the potential opportunities for making changes to the streetscape. And so that visioning workshop led directly into the opportunities that were proposed by Du Bois and King, which I think start on page 11. And that's really where we'll get into the analysis. And so the main opportunity areas are the Noyes Street intersection, the Troy Street intersection, the Main Street crossing, so the crosswalks along Main Street, ADA access to River Street buildings, commercial buildings, the River Street parking lot, public parking lot, and then the opportunity for murals and pedestrian scale lighting. So throughout the plan, there are, for each of those areas that I noted, there is an opportunity identified. And I'm not gonna go into each one in depth tonight, but I'll just look at the first one, the Noyes Street intersection, and sort of talk about sort of the format. And that same format was followed for each of those different areas. So you can take a look at those on your own time. And if you do have any comments or find anything that you want to point out in the plan that should be addressed or changed, please reach out to me and we can make that change before making the plan final. But so for the Noyes Street intersection, we know there's an opportunity for intersection improvements and pedestrian enhancements, specifically to moderate curb extensions that would accommodate truck traffic, grass margins with curbs, painted crosswalk, there's a street light, and filling in the existing side parking area in front of the Dollar General to create space for lawn, tree, and bench. So the existing area, there's just, I don't really know exactly how that parking area is currently used, but there is an opportunity to fill in that sidewalk and extend that sidewalk down and add some landscaping and then create a safe crossing across Noyes Street. On page 11, you can see the consultant sort of looked at you potentially teeing off that intersection to make more of a right angle turn versus just slightly bringing out the curb a little bit to create a shorter crossing distance. The project team seemed to think that the teeing off the intersection would be difficult for truck traffic. But this is something that would be explored further with additional engineering and a scoping study. But that's just an example of the type of analysis and improvement or recommendation that is made for these different focus areas that are explored in the plan. So we take a look and have at each of the different focus areas. So there's visuals that give you an idea, a rendering of what the proposed improvement would look like. And then at the end, on page 23, I'm working on putting together a priority of opportunities and next steps table. And so we have each of these opportunities outlined, and along with the next steps, and then I'm going to be reviewing with the planning commission, sort of considering what are the highest priorities. In terms of moving forward and implementing them, a lot of the more physical improvements could be addressed as a next step in a sort of large scoping study that looked at all of them. So the scoping study is something that would engage some of the public in identifying additional local concerns. It would bring an engineer to the table to sort of take a look at the next level of engineering feasibility, and you would refine a preferred design alternative that you would then seek funding to implement. So that's really what a scoping study entails, and you could group several of these different opportunities that were along your main street into one scoping study as a next step. And so there's various funding sources for scoping studies, and it would align you for accessing construction funding. Some of the elements or recommended opportunities that are not really scoping study appropriate are like murals on building facades. That was one recommendation, to add to the sense of place, and create a sense of pride and community, and you could sort of link the mural with some of the amenities that are important to Richford, like natural resources, outdoor recreation. So that would mean that you would need to coordinate with private property owners and identify funding sources and work in a sort of public-private partnership in that way. To make that happen, if it was on private property, unless you were identifying municipal buildings, that would be good for murals. So that's an example. So there's a few other, there's some bike amenities at Memorial Park that were also proposed. There's always like a bike repair station and a bike rack. There was also a parking space bicycle rack that was identified as an opportunity that, for example, in front of the Thirsty Burger on River Street, where they do have a few on-street outdoor seating spaces or on-sidewalk outdoor seating spaces. If the owner was amenable to taking up one parking space, the parking space bicycle rack would create a buffer between the traffic and the street and the seating on the sidewalk, and so that would just be one tool. I mean, parking spaces are precious for downtown businesses, I get that, so it may or may not be, you know.
I think that's something on that street we need to explore, especially since we have parking, we have 2 parking lots on, within less than 100 yards on each end of that street. I think at some time, maybe we need to explore limiting parking on that street in some capacity.
For the trucks.
Well, for the trucks and
for the tenants that live in those apartments.
So, I mean, I think we could, I don't know, it's for a different conversation for a different day, but I think you're only talking a total of, I think there's 4 on the other side, maybe 5, and 5 or 6 on this side. When you have soon to be the park and ride, and you have the other one that I think there's definitely opportunities to explore freeing
Yeah.
up that street in some capacity.
So that, if we were talking about the parking space biking rack, and on page 20, there is an illustration of that, if you wanted to take a look at, in front of the Thirsty Burger. It, you know, it can, one of the other elements around that to consider is that it is more affordable to install than, you know, extending and doing permanent sidewalk infrastructure in that way. I know during the pandemic, some of these types of improvements in parking spaces, whether they, you know, have been incorporated to increase outdoor seating. And so I think that this is kind of a spin-off of ways to sort of create this, you know, use the street in a way to accommodate more pedestrian space, but in a way that can be done pretty quickly, but still have great benefit and also be aesthetically pleasing. So, for example, that, you know, I've seen pocket parks that are sort of similar to this, right? It might create more seating instead of bike parking. So there's different ways, but that's either way. So I think that's, let's see. So the next steps are to review these opportunities and prioritize them with the planning commission, and talk in a little bit more detail with them about the next steps. The last section of the plan identifies funding opportunities for scoping studies, for design construction, and then also for other you know, improvements like the bike parking or murals. So there's other specific funding sources for that. So in terms of implementation, you could decide to group them several recommendations together for a scoping study, or you could say, you know what, like Noyes Street or Troy Street intersection is most important to us, and say, you know, we really just want to focus on that intersection and making some improvements there. So it doesn't have to be looked at comprehensively. You could say, hey, we want to just do it piecemeal and do a few things at a time. There was an attempt to be responsive to some of the concerns that were brought up, like for example, for the Main Street crossings, you know, concerns around bump outs that would be installed on a permanent basis, and the challenge that would have for winter plowing. So the recommendations in the plan sort of reflect that concern and show some alternatives that would work with plowing, whether it be mountable stamped brick or more temporary seasonal planters, exactly, and so that's explained in here. So this is an opportunity, so I guess when I leave this with you, I welcome you to take a look at it, and please reach out with any additional comments or questions that you have, or any edits that you would like to see in the master plan before it's finalized. But this is essentially the end of the project, and I look forward to being able to work with the town on implementing some of the opportunities in it.
I got a question on page 17, where they're gonna have the ramps in front of the little gift shop and the hair salon there.
Yes,
So that ramp would come out into one
parking space.
parking space, so that's gonna be hard for the trucks to turn that corner.
Yeah, and
Turning
that,
the corner in the summer is one thing, but then in the winter, it's more because people, if you got a snowbank, they park out further. So I'm a truck driver, I go through there every day.
yeah, that intersection is particularly tight, and that was, we understood, and the consultant understood that that might be an issue for truck traffic. I think in the illustration shown, the curbing there is mountable, so that could be one design consideration that would still allow a truck to sort of take that space that it needed to turn, but visually it would still be sidewalk. That may not be desired or the best solution. Another thing that was discussed at the last opportunities meeting, but we didn't get a visual of, is whether it made sense, what's the Main Street when it continues up called?
It's coming off Townhouse Hill, shutting that street off.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
And
then,
actually,
that would be
the
good.
ramp
then,
there.
and you could actually, I think you could actually dig into the bank and put a retaining wall, and you could probably have 2 or 3 spots for handicap, and then they could come right around the
There's not
building.
many people use that road or whatever.
Well, and it would actually, it's actually dangerous because people could slide right into the intersection, so it would take that right out of the equation.
Yeah,
So
so
I
that's
think-
another, and that's noted here, we just didn't have a visual of it, so,
Because when you meet another truck on that corner, it's
Yep.
really, really tight, especially when school's getting in and out.
Yeah, yep.
So-
Yep. So,
so good point, that's a challenging intersection
Yeah,
and street
definitely
in general with
challenging.
the truck traffic and the
Yeah.
tight space.
Okay.
Huh?
Is that
well, thank you.
So that's
Thank
it,
you.
that's it,
Thank you.
yeah. Well, I guess the other thing that I'll note is that with your, scoping study grant for the sidewalk to the
Yes.
elementary school, I think there's opportunity to include the Noyes Street intersection with that grant,
That would be
to
perfect.
scope it. Because the sidewalks, it just makes sense, like, and you have the funding to do the scoping study, so it just makes sense to
Yeah.
sort of take the recommendations from this and include the Noyes Street intersection as the starting point. So that you have a true continuous sidewalk from Main Street.
Safe.
well, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
you're welcome.
Thanks. Okay, next on the agenda is sealed bids.
Alrighty. I've never done this, Alan, you just open them and read them. Alright. This one is specific to the 2006. We have 6 of them in total.
Take care.
Thank you.
Mark St. Pierre, 2006, a bid of $1,265. Jason Weatherby, 2010, a bid of $255. I am placing a bid of $1,200 on the 2500 with plow and homemade box. Brian Barber, $1,200 for the 2010. Robert McCollister, bid $239 for the 2010 Silverado. Robert McCollister, a bid of $521 for the 2006 Chevy Silverado. Oops, out of this file. And this letter is for the 2006 Chevy Silverado. Automatic, I think he's got it mixed up. This one, it says 2006 Chevy Silverado, that's not the 2500, right?
I don't have what's in front of me, I'm pretty sure. I don't remember which one had the plow on it, right? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah. Do we have the posting?
I can go get it.
Yeah. So it's the one with the plow, so that's the 2010, right?
I think it is, yeah.
Yeah. Just wait for him to just confirm that we have it right. there was there's some Facebook comments on that. Do we wanna discuss those, entertain those at all? I don't, regarding donating to somebody that's helped the town. One of these vehicles. Do you remember hearing that?
No.
So I don't know, there's some traffic about donating it to the guy that does the ice skating park for all his work. But you would think that the person you're potentially donating something that doesn't pass inspection, so I mean, would that really be gifting them something of value?
Do they even want it?
I think in the message, he said he could use one, but I don't know that he recognized that they were not inspectable. So I don't know, just that it was out there on the Facebook, the economic development page there. Michael might have a little more into
Is that person a local resident?
yeah, it's the guy that did the, I can't think, I'm drawing a blank on it.
Tim.
Yeah, Tim Irons.
But if you put it out for bids, then you give it away.
Yeah, well, we had the authority to,
Right.
but I think, I say we proceed with the,
If he gets one, it's probably to be able to use on the road, and if they're not
Yeah.
inspectable, it can't be on the road, so. if
And I
you get
think
the
we're- I
tools,
think
it'd be a
we're-
nightmare.
we put it out for bid, we honored the bids.
That'd be the fair thing to do.
Yeah, I think if we had talked about that prior
Yeah.
and not put it
That
out
would've
to
been
bid,
different,
that would have
yeah.
been different.
Yeah, the 2006 has the plow.
Okay,
This is what
okay,
I got for that.
okay, so I just wanted to confirm for them.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so this is for the 2006 Chevy Silverado 2500, for 2200 from Ed Wusanet.
So that's $2,200?
Yep. So,
2,200 for the 2006.
so the 2006 for this one was 1200, and that should go in this pile.
For 2010, we have a 255, a 1,200, and a 239.
Yep. 1200 for the 2500. Yep, so I would say that's the high bid, and we only got one actually for the 2000. We got two for the 2010.
I have 3 on mine.
So,
Or did you? Yeah.
so the 2010 is for Jason Weatherby
Yeah.
and Robert McAllister for 239.
Brian Barber's was the 2006 then?
Ryan Barber was the 2000, the 2500.
Oh, okay.
So that's the 2006. Then Robert McAllister had one for the 521 for the 2006.
Yep.
And Mark St. Pierre for. So I say we go. Do we just make a motion? We let the trucks go for what was the highest bid.
Yeah.
So we award it to.
So this is for the 2006?
For the 2006, we award. We'll sell it to Ed. I don't know how you say his last name. Ed Boissonnet for 2,200.
I'll second that.
And Jason Weatherby for the 2010 for 255.
Yeah, it's more than 239.
Yep.
Fair is fair.
So you want 2 separate motions, or you want to just keep?
I'll
One
just keep,
for both.
want to do just one
Yeah,
for both?
yeah.
Okay.
Because we made the motion to go with the highest bid on both, right?
Yep.
And what was Jason's amount?
255.
Yeah, so I just have Wally motioning to sell the 2006 Chevy 2500 to Ed, whatever his last name is, for 2,200.
Yep.
For 2,200, and the 2010 to Jason Weatherby for 255.
Yep.
Okay.
And then I'll give you
And
the.
Sherry seconded it.
Yep.
Perfect.
And I'll give you these to share with Kylie to
Yep.
keep in our bid folder
There
that
you
she's
go.
got for you.
Yep.
Here's the other one. No, this is yours.
Nope, that was just the notes.
Alrighty.
And next is approval of the minutes of April 3rd?
I don't think you did the whole motion
Yeah,
pass.
I won't know this, I can't.
No.
No,
Oh.
for that.
Aye, sorry.
Yeah.
All in favor?
Yeah.
All in favor? Okay.
All opposed? Any
Anyone? Object, no? Okay,
All right, we're good.
good, okay, now we're good. I'll ask back sometimes. All right, approval of the 2004, 23 minutes.
So there's a.
I was not there, so.
So there's
I
an issue
cannot
with
move.
with how it was done last time. I explained it in the email. Kristen voted to approve the 3/16 special meeting minutes, but Sherry, Wally, and Alan were the only three that were at that meeting.
Right,
So
so,
Kristen cannot vote on minutes that she was not present
Right.
for. So that kind of nullifies the approval of those
Yep.
minutes, so I did not
Okay,
go ahead to approve, I did not list them as approved on
Okay.
the website and everything.
so,
So you have to redo that, but then we have to amend the 4/3 minutes now
yes,
to show that change.
okay,
Yep.
so we'll just, I make the motion to approve the
I'll second it.
is it 16 you said?
Yep.
And we'll,
And then Sherry, and then, okay.
and then move to approve the 4/3 minutes with the amendment that we just discussed.
It's gonna be worded, it's gonna be an interesting one to word.
We can do it as two separate if it's easier.
Yeah, I think two separate would be better,
All
just to
right,
have
so-
each one
so-
individual.
So I made the motion to accept, to approve the 3/16 minutes.
3/16, I'll second that.
Yep.
Yeah.
And then it's just us three, so all in favor?
Aye.
And then approval, I guess it,
Approval of the 4/3 minutes with the correction of that updating the correction that Kristen didn't vote on the 3/16 minutes.
I was at that one, so I can't vote.
Can second it.
Yes.
Hmm.
Oh,
All in favor?
all agree?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Any nays? No, okay. Motion moved. All right, update to town administrator.
okay, so I have a couple things, but be relatively quick. The first one is for the Missisquoi paddle pedal. As I explained last year, and what they've done in years past is for an exchange of sponsorship, the select board just motions to reserve the Davis Park for the day that they do the paddle pedal, and this year it is July 15th.
Okay.
So
I'll make a
if you
motion to
want
reserve it, yeah.
to have that first,
15th, is that?
yep, July 15th.
Is anybody else seconding it?
I'll second it.
And all in favor?
All right.
Aye. Okay, any nays? No? Motion passed.
And then I'll work with Kristen on a couple of their points that are not select, as someone who is now the parks, playgrounds,
Yep.
cemeteries. I'll work with you on some of the other points that they have. The other one was, I emailed Sherry and Wally about this, about the rail trail extension. So kind of coming back to that again, where at the last meeting I explained we would have to look for a new firm to do the planning, engineering plan for the project. But Bethany from Northwest Regional Planning was able to contact Trudell Consulting, which is the firm that absorbed the previous one that we had. And they were actually willing to take on the project, so.
Oh, nice.
Initially, they were not willing to do that because they didn't have capacity, but Bethany was able to talk with them and they were open to resuming the work that was already done, so that gets us out of the process of reviewing
Perfect.
other bids.
Yeah.
So we just need a motion.
So, yeah, because we don't have anything in front of us yet, so I don't know if, I guess maybe there's a motion just to
Continue
pursue
with
it,
the
that.
Yeah,
Because there's no finances or anything
yeah,
that we've talked to them about yet.
yeah.
So maybe that could be the
Yeah.
start of it,
Yeah.
if you all agree to
Yeah.
do
Yes,
that.
make a motion, yes.
To go with Trudell.
Yep, I'll second it. All in favor?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Okay, no nays? Motion approved. Highway report, is that what was that?
No, I'm not done.
Okay.
Not yet.
Don't rush it.
So as Greta mentioned, for the Transportation Alternatives Grant, the scoping study for sidewalk, I have to get the, it's called the project commitment form. It's not the grant agreement, it's just saying that that we're willing to start when, you know, in a couple months. And, so usually I have Andy sign off on those, but he's not here, so I was just gonna run it by everyone, so like I'll have him sign that, and so we can move forward. I mean, I think they said in a couple, like 1 to 2 months usually, they process it, and then they get the grant agreement out, then we review that.
Yep.
So, we'll work on that, and then, and last Thursday, Kylie and I went to the capital planning seminar, which I thought was very interesting, in Barry. It was really informative on capital planning and, you know, the importance of it, and Richford does not have a capital plan as is, and it's also in our town plan to have one. So it was a lot of information, so I can't really just like start saying all the details, but I do have these slides from that in the presentation, so I would like to forward it all to you so you can review it. Maybe that's something.
So what is the basic tenets of capital planning?
I mean, you got the review of like all your departments, but then this is where I get confused, is I don't know like where, if the town can save money, like how the process works to
Yes.
save money and.
For future projects?
Yeah, like kind of identify those and how to save up for
Like on your
them.
roof, you know it's gonna be, needs to be replaced in 5 years, you can save over a 5-year period.
Yeah.
Then replace it, I've been trying to get capital.
The big one that I really took away from that
You and
was,
I talked about that when you were town clerk, to get that started. For the
They're actually
buildings.
doing it on a few things
Yeah.
now for water and sewer.
Yeah,
yeah. The big thing I took away from it was you could use Vermont Community Rural Development. They have people that could dedicate their time to help us through the process. Because that's the part I really don't understand the process of how to get there. That's why I don't wanna say too much about it, because it's like I
Right.
necessarily don't know because we've never done it.
but we already have some going. Capital plans for the water and sewer, you just said,
We
right?
got the capital improvement fund, yeah.
So, but it's something that I think we should
Definitely get
look
some
at.
information more on, yeah,
I'll forward that along to everyone then.
thank you.
Okay. The paving grant was submitted as I sent to all of you, and there was no
No, okay.
opposition, so we did that, so we're just gonna wait and see on how that turns out. And I think that's it, that's all I have. At the end, we just gotta go to the Department of Liquor Control, other
Yep.
business, just remember to do that.
Got that right there,
Mhm.
okay. And now it's the highway report.
All right. Spring cleaning is in full swing, debris cleaning around town, they've swept many of the streets, I think they're winding down that, cause they were out my way on the paved part of my road and a few others, I saw that.
Heard some complaints about the sweeping.
Well, it's unfortunate that it was as dry as it was, but you do it when you got, you know, it's a downtime, it's a slow time thing, you know, I get it. I think there was some complaints at the last meeting as well, but, it's just unfortunate it was as dry as it was. They've done a lot of grading, I think the town roads, I mean, held up really well this year, I think it helped that we didn't have a ton of frost in the ground. They started, you know, cause they are still slow, cause they don't wanna haul full dump truck loads of stuff on the back road, so they're starting to sift some gravel for next year, just to, you know, keep a couple guys busy.
Yep.
We did the bids, they also have done a lot of work at the playground, helping get that up and running. They washed the building, did a little maintenance there, they helped the high school AD do some fence work, do some brush cutting along the fence with trees growing up, helped them gravel the infield, and just some miscellaneous work there for a day or so. I'm trying to get in touch with, I called VLTC today asking them if, as we've discussed on a couple occasions, our winter sand gravel pit is, you know, soon, is slowly becoming exhausted. So, wanted to see what the process was and what, about looking elsewhere within the community and, if there's any, what type of restrictions and regulations are involved. Fortunately, Cormet was probably long since grandfathered, so there might, but if we go to somebody else that doesn't have one necessarily, I wanna make sure we're all in compliance. So they sent me to another guy who I left a message with and haven't heard back. So I am looking into that, just, make sure we're gonna be in compliance with whatever we do going forward as we look. As I said, we have the bed liner and not so much town, but I did speak with Kylie about summer help kids, and she was gonna do some, see if there was any like programs, to, with funding, and, cause I think we'd have to, if we're gonna do it, we'd have to budget for it, probably. And there's the supervision piece, so we'd have to, do some game planning, but I did discuss it, we're looking into it. And, let me see if I have any other notes here. And the last thing, I just go to executive at the end for brief personnel update.
You all set?
Yeah, I'm all set.
Okay, buildings report, not a lot going on, fire marshal and, state plumbing inspector. We did a tour of the building, the electrical inspector couldn't be here, but D&D, we had a guy from him. He's gonna be doing a bunch of light replacements upstairs in the back, reputable dressing rooms, back where you don't ever go there. So we inspected all of that, they have a lot of extension cords hanging everywhere, all from the ceiling. They never unplug anything, when they're done. So we've got to have them come and take down what's good, what's bad, get rid of it. It's just hanging from over ropes and on. And I know we don't use them all the time, but you can't leave them plugged in either, you have to unplug them.
Thomas and I did most of that already.
You already did most of that, thank you. Some light strands. The bulbs are so low, people are hitting their heads or hitting props on them, breaking them off, so we got to put the covers over them and get some set up ones. That's gonna be done, 'cause it's a priority. Railings, ramps, different things like that around in that whole area, or just basically 2x4s, 2x4, 2x4. Nothing's at legal height, there's nothing underneath the 2x4 to the stairs. So I talked to Jason about some of the railings that are missing that we need to have replaced. He said he could do some in metal, because he has the metal to do it. So he's gonna do some of the ones that are out in the main area, so to make it match more like with everything else. Thomas and another volunteer is gonna be doing some of the stairs up back, or the railings. I do have someone coming to look at the boiler room. There's a lot of mudding and taping and painting that need to be done, wood that needs to be covered over with sheetrock, because the boiler room is supposed to be fire safe, you know what I mean? Not to a big point, but enough to get people out of the building. There is a big hole over the doorway going into the boiler that they had taken out all the brick above the door, and all that will cause a vacuum. So if we were to have a fire there, that it would just vacuum right through the middle whole building, and it would be not good.
Yeah.
So that has to be fixed, so I have somebody come in to look at that to give me a bid on that. And then depending on the price of that, we'll go out to bid if it's a larger job.
Mm-hmm.
So that was this place. Plumbing was all pretty good. There was only a couple caps had to be put on, a couple pipes that were upstairs in the way back section that it's not even hooked up anymore, but just for safety, always cap. And thinking what else was there with the fire marshal? I think that was about it here. Yeah, the stairs out front have to be fixed, but same thing at the post office. That's a big job. I'm gonna have to put it out to bid probably next year or something. And see if we can get grants for them, but they have to dig them all up and put them all back in, so. The railings outside, I'm trying to get hold of somebody who does metal work, because the railings are too short and they're not in good shape, so they have to be replaced here and there. Nothing we have to do this year, but we should start looking at saving some money for it, so. And at the post office, 2 furnaces, one goes for where the superintendent's office was upstairs and to the side, the other one's the post office, one was tagged out. He's ordering parts to see if he can fix it. But the other one's in good shape, the one that goes to where the building's gonna be, so. We're hoping to get it fixed in the next week or so, unless we have to order a furnace, don't know yet.
Always something, huh?
Always, none of it's in my budget. But we'll make it work.
Sherry,
Yes,
two things.
yes.
Have you checked the light upstairs, in the upstairs bathroom yet for D&D? When they've been up here, have you had something there yet?
When they were here?
Yeah, when they've been here, remember when we talked about it about a month or two ago, next time they were gonna be in town?
Yes.
You were gonna have them check that upstairs light at the fire
Yes.
station in the bathroom.
I assumed they did that, but apparently
I
they
don't
didn't
know.
follow through, so I will talk to them. They're
And,
still back and forth over here and there.
and two, the downstairs bathroom in the ambulance station, the door no longer locks. If you push the lock, the door closes, it automatically unlocks now.
So
There's
is
something
it-
wrong.
Is it the handle?
I don't know what's wrong. I've tried looking it over and I can't figure out what's wrong with it.
They could have just adjusted to.
It's one of those fancy industrial commercial ones.
Okay.
And down in the ambulance bathroom doorknob.
Okay, and that's it for my report, so now we have water and sewer.
Couple things on water and sewer. Where are we at with those high school kids getting that on Word?
I have been I'll double check, she said they're working on it, or this individual's working on it. She knows she's working on it, cause she keeps asking like Beth questions, but they're not done yet.
Because we're at the point
Where you need 'em?
we're pretty much, except for the fees and a couple policies, the policies are done. We just gotta, the structure's done, we just gotta plug in what we are proposing for numbers.
Alright,
But other than that, we're pretty well done on our water sewer rules.
alright, well, I will follow up again and see if I can get a timetable, you know.
Because, I guess our goal at this point is to have it in place at some point before, the next set of water bills go out. And then the other thing I've got is, I talked to Kylie today about a property that was sent to the attorney for tax sale. It was, on Eastern Avenue, and it's one I think that came to the board before. The water bill for April was over $4,000. And it's a 2-apartment house, so $550 of that was the base, but the usage was $369,000. Apparently there was a leak.
Is that the one with the hot water tank?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, and the people that live there are hard of hearing.
Yeah.
And the landlord only
Yeah.
goes over like once a month or every couple of months, and when she got there, somebody had said something was wet, and then she finally went and looked at.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was something she didn't know, and the tenants didn't have no clue about until they lost all pressure, and the hot water tank had blown and started leaking.
Did we take it, did we vote on that at a
I don't know if we ever
meeting?
voted on
No,
it.
we didn't do anything with it, and,
Oh, we did.
Kylie's
We did to
request.
another one.
Another one, yeah.
Oh.
Is that on
Kylie
Eastern
requested
Avenue?
something in writing from them.
I don't know if that's the same one.
There was two we talked about.
No, I think it was a different one that we,
Yeah,
Yeah, there was
There
two
was
that we
two.
talked
There was
about,
two.
one we
Two.
voted on, and then the other one we didn't.
I
We
think
wanted
it's
more
'cause
information, I
Yeah.
guess.
Kylie requested a letter from them and she never got it.
Okay, all right.
So this particular property has gone to tax sale. And it's not just for this bill. There was a previous balance, so it would have gone anyway. But, and we're gonna have a good policy, I think, that's gonna cover what happens when somebody has a leak, but it's not in place yet. The only thing that will change with this is, at this point, if we make some kind of exception and waive part of the bill, the only thing that will change is the minimum bid when it goes, if it goes to tax sale. It may not even get there, because 9 times out of 10, send the property to tax sale, it gets paid before it even gets to the auction. The incentive of the tax sale, they take care of it, which is a good thing. If you let it go too long, it gets so far behind, people can't.
No one can pay for it, yeah.
But if you send them right away, so. The total bill for April was $4,040.90, like I say, $369,000 worth of usage. Do we want to waive part of that?
The water bill was $4,000?
Yeah,
For the month?
Was it just straight
For
going down
6
the,
months.
like,
6
how,
months.
how,
Yeah, usually it's
so
like
that,
600,
but you said it's $7 a thousand?
yeah, so that's a lot of water,
Yeah.
a lot of water.
So, I mean, how did they, I mean, jeez,
That had to be a substantial leak.
yeah, well, and it had to be flooding, like, it
If
had to
it's
be
the
like.
same one I'm thinking about, it's her tenants, like I said, their death, and there was a leak, and then it ended up blowing out the
I
hot
thought
water
we
tank.
approved that one though, but there was one that we
There was
were-
one other one that we approved that
But
day.
Another
did
one.
did you
Yeah.
go back and
It
look
was a
at?
lot smaller than this one. One of the things we talked about a lot in creating our policy for leaks is, we did it with two goals in mind. Financially, the water and sewer is in pretty good shape, and we don't want to bankrupt people for having bad things happen, but on the other hand, we want to hold people accountable,
Checking
be
things.
responsible for their own buildings, you know?
I've had so many people ask me, how come we're not doing an every 3-month billing? Because something like that
I
would be
asked that
caught
last
3
month.
months earlier.
Well,
But we got to change the water rules right now say you do two bills a year.
Yeah.
So we gotta
So,
change that,
we
and it
really
is
need to.
in there to be changed.
Is it? Good,
Yeah.
because so many people.
So
Yeah.
what are you asking, or what are you proposing?
I'm putting it out there, what does the board want to do, if anything? 'Cause like I say, it's gone to the attorney for tax sale, and the only thing we need to be sure of is the amount that we're sending it for.
Can I make a comment on that? Why should a landlord get a discount on their water bill? Who cares what it is? If they neglected their apartment, you gotta make these landlords accountable for their own laziness. You're just giving them a break. Why don't you give a homeowner like me a break on my bill? That makes me so mad when you guys do that. Landlords destroy this town, it looks like shit because of landlords, and you give them discounts on their water bills.
I'm not gonna vote on this one because I think and I know the person quite well. And I know the person is a landlord, but
You got
The
one
house is
landlord that
beautiful.
owes a $25,000 garbage bill that doesn't pay it.
yeah, I know.
You gotta stop catering to these landlords and giving them everything.
Well, I think they got taken off.
They still owe
Garbage
money.
thing is a sore subject for me too. But, yeah, no, this was just the tenants weren't to the point where they
It
would
doesn't
notice
matter,
or
if the
hear.
tenants are that.
And the landlord, but if they would've got a bill 3 months in, they would've known there was an issue. And it would've been corrected. But I really thought, she had talked to me and said she paid 2/3 and they paid 1/3, so.
Doesn't
Doesn't seem
matter.
like it's
The landlord should
No,
know.
not us, no, not us, she split it with them, she couldn't charge them the whole amount because.
Well,
I
and
thought
we didn't
she's-
forgive
I thought the
whole-
person told me they had paid it, so, but it's so familiar. I don't know if it's the same one or not, that's why I'm saying, I'm not gonna vote on it because I don't know if it is.
If you look at the delinquent water and sewers
Mhm.
in the town report book, there's a lot of them.
Yeah,
If you're
there is.
gonna give that landlord a break, you should give everybody on that list a break.
Well, that's mostly a timing issue because the bills go out in November. Once the tax sale comes around the following year, most of those get paid up.
Yeah.
Well, I see some in there for $3,000-4,000 bills.
Well, there's some properties that use a lot of water. And
Well, pay it.
the next year when they go to tax sale, they do. They pay that with penalty and interest. We
But my
collect.
point is, you keep catering to the landlords. You give them every single thing they want, but our town looks like a dump because they don't care. And all these people that come to trash our town lives in the apartments. Landlord collects their money, they don't care.
I think I would like to know what we, before, I don't wanna like contradict ourselves.
I wanna see it
I wanna, can we go, can we,
I mean, you said Kylie asked for something in writing and they didn't provide that?
They didn't respond.
I'd like to
That's on them, then.
know what we said, what was decided, what we decided as a group in the, I don't remember the minute, what exactly was decided, and I think before we decide anything now, I'd like to know what we said then.
if you go back in the past with other select boards, this board too, but in the past, nobody got a discount on their water bill. If your water bill is X amount, you paid it. Now it's like landlords get a break. Landlords get a break, I want a break.
I just wanna know what we said before.
Yep.
Before we
Yeah,
vote.
before. So no favoritism.
So we can, this is something that can wait till the next time? Yeah, okay.
I'll be here next meeting too. So. I just don't think
No,
it's
no,
fair.
well, no, I'm not,
We just have to follow whatever we did before, we don't wanna do one for one and one for another.
well, I'm not even saying
the
we're gonna forgive it, I just wanna know,
Yeah.
I just wanna know what, I mean, it doesn't look good that we say one thing and then do it totally different the next. I just wanna know what was said.
Stand up to them now.
Yeah. Okay.
I think it was circumstantial though. Like, I think we voted based on the circumstance, and if Kylie, you know, obviously requested something from them because we had a question about it, and they didn't wanna respond, like,
Right.
that's on them then.
Yes,
Okay.
Like,
So-
they
so let's,
are negligent, and it's obvious.
yeah, so let's just see what, you know, what was said, you know, and if it was said that we needed more information, they didn't provide it, it's a simple decision.
Okay. So,
I don't know if it's the same person, so I can't say it.
no, it's a different one.
It's a different one from the one I was talking about?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
If you go, like I said, if you go back in the minutes of the past select boards, nobody got a break. Now it seems like some do, some don't, landlords
Yeah.
do, a homeowner doesn't.
Well, there were people that got breaks from previous select.
I never got a break.
I never did either.
Me neither.
And I'm not
Okay,
saying
why, how
it's
is it
right.
fair?
Me neither.
You do for one, you should do for all. And I know it's a different subject, but it's about landlords. There was a news article on the news about a month or so ago in Rutland and another town in Vermont. Some people are living in hotels and stuff.
Yeah.
And the cops gotta go there a lot and deal with issues. So they get to charge, the town gets to charge that hotel $75 an hour for law enforcement to go there. Richford ought to look at something like that. If your tenant's causing trouble, and the cops gotta go there, we should be able to do the same as Rutland and another town.
They do
We
it just
gotta
for the
do
hotels, or
something.
they doing it for landlords?
What's that?
They doing it just for the hotels, or are they doing it for
They
landlords?
did it for that one hotel that housed people through a program
Right.
through the state.
Right,
So,
right, but it wasn't all landlords, because there's a lot of rentals that
I
probably.
didn't, no, I said they were doing it with one
Just
hotel.
hotel, right.
In one town, in two towns it's
Yeah,
being done.
so if we have a hotel, which we do, we could do it with that one, but to do it with everybody in town.
Why not do it with rental properties? Most of the cops go to rental properties, they don't go to private homeowners' houses. Very seldom. Most of the problem is caused by tenants living in.
Right,
That's like when stuff's happening in Richford, you blame it on the sheriff's department. It's not the sheriff's department,
Yeah.
it's the landlord that rents to those people.
okay, so we next, park cemetery, are we all done? Alright, park cemeteries?
Not much of an update. Talked with Michael a little bit and Kylie. We're getting the parks opened. Porta potties getting delivered. You know, things like putting the dog bags out and
Yeah.
making sure there's, you know, garbage cans, and we're definitely gonna have to talk at some point though for some grant money around cameras. I know we've mentioned this. We've kind of looked at some
We need a few more.
possibilities, but, well, not just a few more. In talking with Michael this week, the systems that are there, they're horrific and couldn't even be accessed when the cops recently asked for some video footage. And it was very problematic. And so, I mean, we're a border town and we need, you know, some proper security. So I did kind of mention to Michael just about looking for some grant money to help with, you know, upgrading our camera system. And, you know, there's not even a camera on this building at all. So just, you know, really thinking about, you know, what that safety could look like and how we might be able to access some grant money to move forward with.
John?
The park up here needs doggy bags. I was up there
Yeah, we're
today
doing
and the
it.
garbage cans are all running over
Okay.
up here.
Yeah, we discussed that when you.
And I took care of that park for years. So the people do use the doggy bags.
Yes, they do, yes. Go ahead, just start it.
Um,
Okay,
Speaking of grants, there was a grant that was shared, it's for infrastructure, and I think water and sewer was one of them. I don't know if you've looked into it a little bit. I shared it with Michael, and to look into, I think you could get up to $1 to $3 million.
The last time we talked with Wayne Elliott, we weren't eligible for grants.
But that might have been for a certain thing. This is, something through Northern something. It wasn't necessarily, the same thing. And even if it wasn't for our water and sewer plant, which is what I was thinking, maybe it could be, it's all about building up infrastructure.
Yeah, when we looked into it for Golf Course Road, Wayne Elliott looked into it, and we weren't eligible for grants because our rates are too low.
Yeah, but that might be, like I said, that depends on the grant. I mean, like if you're talking federal or state, but might not be federal or state. It's, I'd have to look at what it was for. Do you remember? Yeah, I'll kick it to you. I'll send it to you. But it looked like it had more. I mean, even transportation could be put into it. It was yeah, so.
all right. Anything else? No? We have some other business we'll have to go
Yeah,
into.
I wanted to talk about the trash day that we did it last fall. We talked about doing it on a more ongoing basis.
Yeah.
Do we want to start planning that for one day
I would.
in May?
I think people like it this time of year. Looking at trash and stuff they wanna get rid of.
Is Green Up Day in May?
First weekend in May, right? First Saturday.
Yeah, the bags are outside for everybody.
Yeah. So I guess Michael, you and I can work on doing that again.
Could you look into having what they call it, hazardous waste day, like when you could take paint and stuff? I mean, they had one here, and it's been years ago,
Yeah, I don't want to tie that to this day. That'd be more.
oh yeah.
Yeah, no.
But a separate,
Yeah.
Northwest Solid Waste used to be the people that house.
Right.
We used to be, fire department used to be over there with them to grab the steel and bring it back to the station.
They stopped doing that because they only do it to so many towns in the community, and they took Richford off the list and went to a different town because they felt they weren't getting as much traffic here at Richford for it. So maybe we need to go back and revisit and advertise it a lot more so that we get a lot of people. And if
Right.
we're doing these trash days and stuff, at those we can say, okay, there's gonna be a hazardous waste one, and get people to start using those.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then they might come back and do that.
Yeah, the only thing let's try to get John to have actually 2 on the ground this time.
Yeah, that was it. It was a little strenuous at the time.
Speaking of trash, does the town own that strip right behind, like Collins's in our station, it runs over through by the church?
That's on the agenda to have.
There's a lot of trash
Yeah,
piled
we'll
up there.
have the town crew go in there and.
I was out there the other day, because we were looking, getting ready, now that the snowbank's gone, we're getting ready to clean up our mess from the winter months, and I happened to look up through there, and it's just trash all up through there.
You ever notice recycling day, it's always windy?
Always.
But this is more than that, this is like old kids' toys and stuff like that, been thrown out in there.
But you're right, Carl, it is always when
Yeah.
you recycle.
One thing about the trash, I was just reading an article, some places increased their fees for a bag of garbage to $9. So if anybody complains about the Richford garbage, they better do some research and see what it really costs.
Yeah. Okay, do we need to leave this and go into,
Got one other thing.
okay?
I had some people complain about kids riding go-karts on Church Street. And I've seen them, they're young, really young kids, and they're going quite fast. They weren't complaining that the kids were bothering them, but they're afraid they're gonna get hurt.
Hurt, yeah.
So they were wondering if the sheriff might be able to go up and maybe talk to the kids. They're out riding quite often.
Is it Church Street?
Yeah.
The kids need something to do.
Okay, and kids on go-karts.
Yeah.
I'll probably see Andre tomorrow morning. He comes in the store quite often, so I'll mention it to him. It's kids, he goes to school, so. He probably already knows the kids. Now, is that everything? Okay, So we're gonna go into liquor license. What is it called? What's it called?
Liquor control.
Control, there we are, that's the word I was looking for.
You're gonna need a motion to do that.
Motion to exit the select board.
And enter into
Yeah.
liquor control. Okay,
I'll make that
so,
motion.
I'll second.
perfect, thank you.
So we're now in liquor.
Now everything is online, so we don't have the papers, so you have to go online to approve and different things like that. We got Weatherby's Quick Stop, the American Legion, Main Street Market, Mocha's, and Thirsty Burger. I'll make a motion to approve their liquor licenses.
Second.
Okay.
These are
Just
just
have
their,
it approved tonight,
these
yes.
are just their annual.
Yep, these are just their annual.
Do you want to abstain from one?
Nope, I'm not on there.
No, she was on there before.
No, I didn't know, with the Thirsty Burger relation.
Well, sure, I probably should stay, not want to spend that, yes.
Okay, so restart the motion with somebody.
Sorry, I'll make a
I'll
motion.
make the motion.
Yep,
And then you would,
I did for the others and he did for Thirsty Burger.
oh, okay.
Just the Thirsty Burger.
Just,
She
okay.
abstained from.
So Sherry would still the original motion with,
Yeah,
Right.
minus the, yeah.
His was
Okay.
Thirsty Burger.
and then was it Kristen that did the second? Okay, on that one, and then so Wally's motion for the Thirsty Burger. And then who's second
I'll
on that
second
one?
it.
Kristen.
Any questions? Is everybody in agreement? Yeah? Okay. Motion passed. Motion's passed.
Yes. And then that's it, and then I'll make a motion, we exit the liquor control board and re-enter the select board.
Yep. Oh, actually, can I take that back?
Okay.
Has everybody received or read from the Lions Club?
That was at the last meeting.
Yeah.
Was that the last meeting? I just got it off the board. Oh my God, I've already mentioned that, in case it hasn't been mentioned.
Mhm.
We're good?
So, I mean, Wally made that motion to
Yep, and I'll
exit.
second it.
All those in favor?
All those in favor, I'm sorry. It's a late day, I've been up
Yeah.
since 4.
I know, me too.
All those in favor? Aye. Aye.
Okay.
Okay. No nays, motion passed.
Yeah.
Right, we're in executive session.
We'll have to make a motion to go into executive.
I thought that's what you just said.
No, I meant go back into the select board.
Okay,
Oh, that was the first, right?
Yeah,
That was the first
I'll make a
motion.
motion that we go into executive.
I'll second it.
For personnel.
Yes.